Welcome back to our 68th episode of the Launch Your Farm Show, where I interview Amy Flowers with the Amy Flowers team in Milton, Ontario. In this episode, Amy and I talk about why she shifted from doing old school offline marketing like postcards for nearly 10 years to focusing online with new strategies to stay relevant in her farm. And Amy shares how starting out farming in a small area and growing her budget and reach over time was one of the best decisions she had made in her career. And we talk about what type of events, community involvement, and businesses they focus on to stay relevant and top of mind in their farm. And Amy shares a super easy way to add value to the community you serve by being the connector and helping your audience with things outside of the real estate transaction as well. And Amy shares how her team has evolved over the years to build a massive presence in their farm by connecting with their audience through multiple mediums and creating a much bigger impact. Plus, we talk about a ton of other ideas you can use to grow your geographic farm. So be sure to check out this episode, like and subscribe, and enjoy the episode with Amy. Welcome back to another episode of the Launch Your Farm Show. I'm your host, Ryan Smith, and today we've got a great guest. It's Amy Flowers from the Amy Flowers team. So Amy, take a second, tell us a bit about yourself and why you're here.
Thanks for having me here, Ryan. I'm excited to be here. We're from Milton, Ontario, and I've been in the business for about 20 years now. We've incorporated farming into our business probably 17 years ago when we started, and I've seen it grow and evolve throughout the years. So I thought maybe this would be an opportunity to sit and have a chat about how it's different and what any questions that people had, or what should we do and what should we not do.
Yeah, it's great because a lot of people, when they hear farming, I teach it all the time, is that they hear old school farming and what used to work, and they learn from old school trainers who say, you do this, you just send out a bunch of postcards. And the reality is things have changed, markets have changed, strategies have changed, technologies change, rules change, and it's important to evolve. And that's something I'm a firm believer in when it comes to farming. You should always be staying one step ahead of the game. So I want to start then going back to that beginning part. So how did that look for you when you got started, when you started getting farming? What was your kind of beginnings looking like?
Well, it is exactly the way you said. Trainers say to us, you need to go and do this. And I did exactly what they told us to do. Send out a postcard. It was pretty easy. We could throw it in the garbage. We didn't recycle as much back then. Yep. So yeah, it was a quick little message, but the idea is that you're hitting them with branding over and over and over again. So I sent it out one every 10 days. And I probably did that for like 10 years. My farm started little, like 400 people, and then it just grew and grew and grew. I think at the end, when we finished doing the actual direct mail quite a few years ago, I think we were up to 10,000.
Wow.
But we started small. And I think that was really key and really important, was to start small, one, because of the financial aspect of it, because outrageously expensive.
Yes.
But in the heart of doing it, those trainers that I referenced, they had us up and in conferences often and just talked about success stories and how we were doing. Yep. And I remember doing the numbers. I think this is back like in 07, 08, 09, like back then. Yep. Our return on investment was well over 900%. So wow. What we did worked. Yep. But then eventually it just got to the time where things needed to switch.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's important, like you said, though, is to start small. And that's something I teach all the time, is that I say it's better to scale up than to scale back. And that's a mistake that I see a lot of agents make. They see agents like yourself farming at a large scale, and then they think, well, in order to emulate what Amy's doing, I got to do 10,000 homes, and they come out of the gate hot, and then they blow their budget on 10,000 homes and then don't get the return. Not knowing that you started with 400 homes and then it probably slowly expanded each year and added on a little more to get to that. So for you, what did it look like for you to say, okay, hey, after 400 homes, we're ready to start expanding? Like, did you have to get a certain number of deals? Was there a certain number of things that had to happen for you to say, hey, let's keep growing this?
It was money, one, and the money started coming in, and I could see that it was working. So when we started at our 400 homes, the area that I chose was an area with a lot of townhouses and semi-detached. So like entry-level houses.
Yep.
which was great for us because then all of the houses that we sold in that area, they typically moved to a neighboring area, but just a bigger house.
Yep.
So that meant that it was an easy to kind of ink blot and just kind of grow our farm area. That way people in the neighborhood already knew us because they had moved from our farm area. And we had the money to do it. That was the big thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something I say as well, is that you need to fund the farm with the farm, and that you got to take the money from the deals you start doing and reinvest it back into it. And again, a mistake that a lot of agents make is they make money on it, they go out and spend it, and then come back and go, oh crap, now I got to spend more money. And if you take the money from the deals you're doing and reinvest it, you can grow and grow well. So for you, you said you were making 900% return on investment. How long did it take for you to start seeing those results? Because that's where a lot of agents get stuck, and then they feel, I'm doing this and I'm not seeing the return. How long did it take for you to start getting traction?
It was a long time ago, so I don't have an exact number, but I want to say it took a few years.
Okay.
And I mean a few years of hitting people over and over again.
Yep.
That's the key. If you're going to do what you talked about earlier and have a very wide net and do 10,000 neighborhood and only hit them a few times, I don't think that you'll ever have success doing that. It's very high intensity is what we did.
Yep.
Very high intensity and high frequency.
Yep.
And that provided, so let's say we started seeing them 2 to 3 years in.
Okay.
And then it grew exponentially after that.
Right.
And it wasn't just sending postcards though. It was being active in the neighborhood. That was key.
That was my next question, is what else were you doing to layer in on top of that then? So what type of things were you doing to be active?
Well, back then, open houses were big. So I didn't have a lot of listings at the time, being new. So some of the ladies in the office, they would have an open house and they would say, hey, new girl, do you want to do an open house for us?
Yeah.
And if it wasn't in my farm area, I would say, thank you, but no. And they just kind of took that like, what? We're offering this to you. Why wouldn't you do it? So I literally spent all my time there, whether we were doing door knocking, which we did cold calling back then as well. All specifically to that area. And I would always start with, hi, it's Amy Flowers, and we're your neighbor just down the street, just wanted to talk to you about something. And that line really opened up, whether we were on the phone or standing at their door. We did different events like if we had a client event that we were doing, like a movie event, we invited our farm. If we were giving away pumpkins or Thanksgiving, whatever it is that we were doing, we would always include the farm in there as well. And then, man, when we got a listing in there, we just blew it up. Like that's where you're going to do your just listed cards, your just sold cards, or just going around there and say, hey, you want to know what's going on in the neighborhood? We know this neighborhood. That's what we did back then. Social media makes it a lot easier to do that now. A lot easier to do that now. But that's what we did back then. And
so the next question is perfectly lines up with that. Is you said you kind of stopped doing or slowed down on the direct response or direct marketing. What did you do to start replacing that? And what kind of things were you doing to replace what wasn't working?
So we did get to the point, I found it was a tipping point where I felt like we couldn't get the return on investment started to diminish. So when we have those diminishing rates of return, at that point, I'm like, okay, I went back literally and had dinner with that trainer who told me this is what you have to do. I said, okay, Don Hobbs, I did everything you told me to do. And now I think I kind of maxed out. What do I do next? Yeah. And so that's exactly what we talked about. And we scaled back on that and we upped the digital. And it just happened to coincide with people in general and what people are gravitated to. So
technology changed.
Technology. That's the word I was looking
for. Good. So then for that jump, then how did you transfer what you were doing to the new things? Because I find a lot of people have a hard time going from offline to online and making that work because they are tied to that. All people were getting this and they want that message, or that branding was the same. And now they're trying to do it digitally. Did you find a difference when you were shifting over as far as who you're reaching and how you're reaching them?
Well, it was a huge hurdle for me to get over. I had many people that I would go out to and be like, are you sure? Like it's working so well. Are you sure you should stop doing this? So it was a hard thing to do. But of course, I wish we did it earlier now. What was your exact question again?
Was the transition from offline to online transferring the connection and the relationships and doing that? Because I know when my own farm, we did hard copy stuff and then we switched digital, and we lost a good chunk of people because the relationships we had and the connections we had, it was a tricky to make that shift. So did you lose momentum, or did you lose people and connections?
We hired a specialist to do that for us. I did not know how to do digital marketing. I did not know how to buy Facebook ads and where to send them and how to target them. Back then, you could target really specifically. So I hired someone to come onto our team to do that for us. So that, say, $50,000 budget that we had got transferred into the digital side.
Okay. And then did you find that people resonated with the new medium or new format? Well, was it something that they had to get used to because they're used to getting postcards for years? They may be living there for 10 years getting your stuff. Was there a change in how they responded to it?
It needed to grow. It took some time. Yes. Milton, we do have specific pockets of Milton that are predominantly baby boomers.
Okay.
So I even still to this day farm hard copy to those areas.
Okay.
Because they're baby boomers and they don't necessarily they're not on social media all the time or even at all.
That's a great point, because a lot of agents think that it's a one size fits all type of approach, and they use their marketing and say, I'm just going to do this and then just multiply it. But like you said, you have to know your demographics and who's in there and tailor your message. And some agents don't like that, I find, because they go, it's more work, I got to do that. But you're going to get better results and get a better return when you know who you're trying to hit, how you're going to reach them, and what's going to resonate with them. So how many areas are you doing right now, and what different things are you doing in those areas then?
So as far as hard copies for the small areas, I think it's 3. There's only 3 small pockets or 4 in Milton that are predominantly baby boomers. And instead of doing the high frequency postcard, kind of just get my brand across, this is the stuff that where they're actually going to sit and read it. So we do more of a newsletter type for them, because it's not just about throwing the brand in their face, because they see our brand with our cars and our signs and that kind of stuff. But this is just a value add to them. And we put on there some featured listings, because maybe they don't go online and look at the listings as often. So that's what we do specifically for them.
Okay, awesome. And you mentioned community is a big part of it, and doing community events. Are you doing more of those lately? Or are you doing less of those? And what type of things are you doing with the community?
Well, before COVID, we were doing lots. Right now, we haven't done as many, or we've shifted them. Instead of having people come to the movie theater and have a movie day, we're going to focus more on, why don't you come privately with your family and have a photo session done? And it's open but then you're by yourself. This is your space, and you're not with 500 other people. Or just different event type things like that. Or we give away pies at Thanksgiving and we drop them off at their door. We knock and give it to them. We just leave it at their door for them.
So I want to ask you, because I know for the viewers who may not know, but you're in Milton, and Milton's I think it was the fastest growing town in Canada at one point. There's a lot of new growth and a lot of new expansion. So there's a lot of people that are moving from outside of the area into the area. How are you attracting or connecting with those people who have not been there, don't know your name, maybe bought new from the builder? What are you doing to kind of catch those people as they're moving in, or catching them before they move in?
So brand awareness of our team is really important. So yes, the social media stuff, we want to be involved in, of course, our own social media, but then involved in the groups and the chats that are going on out there, creating dialogue that is going to create engagement, but then also being in their face around town. So we have cars that are branded Volkswagen Beetles with the sunflowers all over them. When we do open houses, which we haven't in a year and a half, but when we do, we have big 9-foot tall feather flag signs that we have, and we litter the neighborhood with those. We still do just listed or just sold cards to a smaller degree. We invite our neighbors to the open houses. So we're in front of them. We're in front of their face just so they know who we are. We all wear branded apparel, not all the time, but a lot of the time. Like our masks always have a flower on them. So if I'm going to the grocery store or I'm at the chiropractor, we all have our branded apparel on and we wear it often. We're proud about that.
Yep.
So a lot of times people at the grocery store are like, oh, you work for the Amy Flowers team. That's so awesome. I'm like, yeah, it's great. They don't know that I'm Amy. It's okay.
That's great.
I heard she's a real great person.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I hope that's what you heard.
Yeah. So are you doing anything online then to capture them as well and to build that brand? You mentioned some of the social media and things like that. Are you doing anything as far as lead generation to capture those people before they get there, or are you kind of waiting until they settle in and then capturing them once they're there?
Waiting till they settle in, I think, would be a big one. Right now, we've got neighborhood groups set up. So there are, it's called neighborhood groups, and then whatever the neighborhood is called. So neighborhood groups, Old Milton, neighborhood groups, BD, or whatever the neighborhood is.
Yep.
And then each one of our agents is responsible for putting content and just creating dialogue on that neighborhood group. That's worked. We got that idea from Guelph. They have that, and it's been working really well. And you'll see people just like, a mom who went to the park who lives in that neighborhood will post and say, hey, found a phone. It was left at BD Park. Did anybody lose it? And, or, hey, my cat got out. I can't find my cat. And then there's just engagement on there. And you can bet we talk on there all the time.
That's awesome. And that was perfectly ties to the next question I was going to ask, is that how do you engage the agents on your team to further your brand and further that connection in the community? Because I find some agents have, they're, as a solo agent, they can get out there, they're great at farming, and then as soon as it comes to getting a team, they struggle with that consistency, they struggle with getting their team to add value. So what are you doing to have your team be an extension of the brand?
It has to come natural. So some of our team members are really excited and like to do, say, video or do reels on social media, and they'll put it on their personal page as well. Some of our agents don't like that, and so it's not natural, so we don't ask them to do that.
Okay.
But I provide clothing. We have shirts and jackets and hats and pens and cups and masks and everything that, and it's all there. So if they're not required to, but if they want to, my favorite thing is shirts to go to the gym. I want the girls, if they're at the gym, they're going to have an Amy Flowers team shirt on. So it's that awareness.
Yeah, that I find that helps a lot. Just the simple branding with clothing. I know when we did our farm, we had some dress shirts and some polo shirts and jackets showed up, and we had comments all the time when we go to listing appointment, and they'd say, "Oh, wow, you guys is well presented." That people have commented about how we come showing up prepared, and people I'm like, well, if another agent isn't prepared like that and they're not willing to show up, how serious are they? And we specialize in that neighborhood and we brand ourselves around the neighborhood, and people really appreciate that. So that definitely helps. And it may not be direct, they may not see it or say it, but it's like all those little things start adding up, and that helps build the brand overall. So from a community perspective, what have you done then to really enhance yourself in the community outside of real estate, if anything? Because I know a lot of agents focus just on real estate and they say, like, we're amazing at real estate. Are you doing anything to give back? Are you doing anything to support local causes or local businesses and things like that?
Well, there's always initiatives to give back, and we spread it around. We don't have one specific that we're into. We've done things from the Relay for Life. We've just been involved in the community, to the Salvation Army, to the Cancer Walk. Like, there's been so many different ones. This year was Milton Transitional Housing. We take part in the Santa Claus Parade, so we're all there in our gear and giving away this really cool playhouse. That was a really good campaign that we did this year. What else are we doing as far as neighborhood? Oh, we're a source for information for people. Hey, I need a plumber. Hey, I need to get my house painted. I need this. So people know that if they need something out there, most of us have had experience with one or a few different trades or service providers. So we make sure that's out there. I'm a part of our local BNI chapter, so I'm always out there networking with different businesses. Being present, spending money in the community. That's huge.
That's something I teach all the time and talk to agents, that you need to be supporting local and supporting those local businesses and the things that are going on in the community, because it's supporting it financially, but it's also supporting it with eyeballs, because people are seeing that you're out and you're active. When they see you in the store with your jacket on and your things, and they go, "Oh, Amy's shopping here. Amy supports this," and it helps build that ambassador program. And one of the things I talk about all the time is I call it CPR, and it's community positioning and relationships. And one of the keys to farming is positioning yourself as the ambassador for that community. And when you do that correctly, when you are supporting those local causes, when you're supporting the local businesses, when you're being that resource for information, and you're, like you said, passing on names of contracts and things like that, people will come to you because they know you're there to help the community, not just the transaction. And so many agents just focus on the transaction itself, and they're missing the opportunity to build relationships with other businesses and to help offer value to the people they serve. And it's just a big part of what I think good farming should be about, is really being that connector for the community. And if you're doing it, which sounds like you're doing it well, people will then start coming to you instead of finding someone else, and then they'll find another agent who will connect them, and that's how you lose clients. So what, as far as local businesses go, what kind of things do you do with partnerships? Are you doing anything as far as working together as far on causes or programs or discounts and promotions or giveaways and things like that?
So a few things. So with regards to collaboration with other businesses in town, we give out gifts. My love language is gift giving. So I always like to give gifts to clients. So if you're a client of ours, we're going to send you a birthday card, and it'll be nice to be in your birthday, say, hey, Ryan, happy birthday. But it'll also have a discount coupon for 20% off at the local guy who cleaned your car. Or Mother's Day, Father's Day, birthdays, anniversaries, all of those. I partner with a different business in town, and maybe it'll be 50% off at any kind of jewelry at the Vault in Milton. That was a successful one. Mother's Day coming up is you get one ring cleaned at the local jeweler, there's just a whole bunch of other campaigns that we kind of work together on. Maybe it's a free manicure for other clients. So we're promoting these local businesses to our sphere and people. And then in turn, they get a discount or some kind of value add that they get to have to be introduced to this new business.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a win-win for everybody. And it's, like I said, it's a win-win for the business, for you guys to have something of value, and then the people who are receiving it are getting that, which is huge in my opinion. So what are you having your team members bring those businesses forward to you? Or are those businesses coming to you? Or is it people you've had relationships with? Or like, what does that look like?
We collaborate with that and say, okay, guys, we start for the year and say, who do we want to work with this year? If people haven't come to us. So I've had people reach out to us and say, hey, Amy, do you want to do something together? I'm like, yeah. Or sometimes just where I get my nails done, I'm like, hey, do you guys want to do something together? Like, they're like, yes, absolutely. Or we've had it where we have a client, and our client is the guy who cleans the cars, and our client is the jeweler. And so we'll go to them and say, well, before we put it out to any other businesses, we want to offer to you first, because this is a really cool opportunity to get in front of many different people who are new to town. So yeah, that's how we find them.
Awesome. Yeah, it's great to tie it into the clients, because it helps them, and it shows that you're supporting them because they've supported you too.
One other thing that we do, that I do specifically, and I do encourage our whole team to do, is reviews for local businesses. Yeah. And I always look at things for us and say, you know what? I love it when our clients give us reviews. That's a huge part of our business. So I better be doing that for the local businesses in town. Yep. So every time I have, not every time, but I make sure that every restaurant that I have been to, or every retail store or jeweler, or we're putting out reviews everywhere. That I think goes a long way too.
Yeah, it goes from a reciprocity standpoint because the businesses appreciate it, but also goes from an eyeball standpoint that people see it. Because I did a thing last year just before COVID hit, and I was testing out using photos and leaving reviews to see how many reviews I could get and things like that. And I had, like, in 2 months, I had like 70,000 views on the reviews and photos I left. So if you do it and you do it right, you can put your name, put your business name, put your farm area that you're focusing on, or your website in the review, and you're getting people who are watching that and seeing that you're supporting those local businesses, and they're seeing you in a supportive way, and not just hey, I sell a bunch of houses, which is super powerful.
You know, Ryan, I think I'm going to take that as my tidbit for this afternoon. I've got a bunch of reviews that I've done already, and you can only do one per, at least on Google, you can only do one per business. So my goal for this Christmas season is to go back into those reviews and do 2 things. One, leave a photo, because I'm sure that's going to be great. So anytime I'm at a restaurant or things like that, I'm going to leave a photo. And then 2, I didn't put my business name. I just assume people know who I am, but That's not necessarily true. So I'm going to change, I'm going to update it, and I'm going to put my business name, and I'm going to add a photo. So thank you for that.
So another thing, which you said, because you said you can only do one trick that a lot of people don't know is you can comment on other reviews as well. So you can, so if someone leaves a great review, so you can go on there and say, yes, I had an amazing experience with them too. And you can leave a comment underneath that review. So it's another way to get another kind of touch point in there. So hopefully that helps.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm writing that down as we speak.
Very welcome. So I want to dive into the social side of things, because I think that's an important part of where farming is going. Again, going from that old school, sending out just a bunch of postcards, to shifting to the social media side. What have you guys found has worked really well in the last year or two since COVID has hit, as far as reaching people with social media?
Okay, I'm going to do one. I'm going to explain one that we did a few years ago, but you could do it now. So this was a video that we did. We found this amazing videographer, and it has nothing to do with real estate, has nothing to do with the Amy Flowers team, it has nothing to do with anything except for Milton. So we had famous astronaut Chris Hadfield, who is from Milton. We had him do a little spot of an intro for the video. And then we went out, well, the videographer went out and filmed this spectacular video all about Milton. It went viral. It went everywhere. We had people sharing it all over. We had the town come and ask us if they could use it. We've had other businesses ask us if we could use it. Some famous TikToker guy used it. Like it went really far. Yeah. It went so well. One, I was really nervous on the price because it was like $6,000 and it has nothing to do with us. And I'm like, that's a lot of money. But the reach was so good that we then went and did 3 more. So we have one for every season now. And that's awesome. We can rotate them or take snippets from them and rotate them throughout the years, and it'll still look new when you see it again next year or the year after. Those are in our website if you want to take a look.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a great point too, and it's important for agents to realize that it doesn't have to be just about you. When you focus on the community and you give back to the community, that's I would say like a gift to the community. You created a great content around the community that people live and serve, and they resonated well with that because it's important and impactful for them, and they share it, and it goes viral, and that's huge. And you're the creator, and people link back to you to find it, which is awesome. From as far as video then goes, what other things are you doing with video? Because I think that's again a big part of where agents should be spending their time.
So with video, let's see. So we have community video, like the big town ones. Yep. We've done ones in the past. And so if you go and search, you'll see some old videos like 8 or 9 years ago, but they're still up there, of the different parks in town. Like we have a lot of conservation areas here in town. So I go to the park and they say, hey guys, like, I didn't know this existed after 5 years of living here. Did you know this existed? And just explaining what is in town. Yep. I've done little neighborhood videos about, okay, this is the district. These are the schools. These are some of the businesses. This is where the parks are, just in the neighborhoods there. We do lifestyle videos of our houses or regular videos of the houses. We do client event videos, sometimes just general me on screen talking about real estate. People like to talk about, you see that kind of stuff. Or at the very beginning of COVID, it was, hey, you're bored. What can you do? Yeah. Those type of, so there was a big video push for a long time there, and Reels has been really big this year. So fun content with regards to the houses, and incorporating the agents into that too, if they want it to be, and just showing our personality and showing what it is that we do during the day.
So then from a team perspective, how involved are you in the day-to-day of selling houses? Are you more running the team, or are you actually out selling homes still?
I run the team. Yeah. That happened a few years ago. Every once in a while, I'll pick up a client for whatever reason. I'm involved in all of the transactions through the agents though. Have a lot of communication back and forth with that. But mostly my job is to be the face of the company and to run the team and to look forward of what's happening next.
So from a marketing perspective, then how involved are you in that? Because again, I find a lot of agents, when they get larger, they tend to offload that. Are you still involved in the marketing side of things, or do you have people in place to help you with that?
I'm only involved from a CEO side of things. Okay. So the marketing, I have the marketing manager. We have meetings once a week, and she'll say, okay, this is what I'm thinking. This is what I want to do this. And very rarely do I veto something and say, yeah, nope, don't want to do that. It happens, but not very often. They're really spectacular. And they'll say, okay, this is where we're going with this. It works so well here. We're going to expand it here. or she had the great idea of what to do with the Santa Claus parade this year. So yeah, we were giving away this dollhouse, and you can't hand stuff out at the Santa Claus parade. So instead, we all walked around with these big, huge signs that said, hey, scan this QR code and enter to win this dollhouse. We had like 1,000 people enter the contest.
Wow.
That's the most response we've ever had on anything. But that was her pivoting and shifting, and it worked really well.
That's my big takeaway from today. That's awesome. That's a good one. I like that.
Good.
So
to me, hire really good people to do it better than I ever could. That's the key.
That's critical for real success for anything, and especially in this business as well. So future wise, what are you guys working on, and where do you see things going in the next year or two for you guys?
Well, right now, some strategic alliances that I'm still working on with other businesses in town and creating different programs. They're not really finalized yet.
Okay.
Those are more long-term stuff. I think 2022 is going to be fast and furious. I think we're going to be quite busy, especially for the first 2 quarters. So we're just going to repeat things that we've been doing over the last 18 months. Yeah.
So no major shifts, just doubling down on what's working.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So we always wrap up with the best piece of advice. So if you were giving some advice to people who are looking to start farming, whether they're new or seasoned, what advice would you give to our agents who are listening to this?
The thing that I wish I would have done a long time ago is to hire a marketing person earlier. So I don't care what type of question you would ask me. If you would say, what would you do differently, whether it's to do with farming or not, that's always my answer, is hire a marketing person sooner. That's my number one.
Awesome. Great. That's great advice. And we always wrap up with the last segment is our best book. So what's one book you recommend that you think would have an impact on our viewers, or has had an impact on your life?
The E-Myth Revisited is one of my favorite. Yeah, it breaks it down, everything. Good stories. Yeah.
Sorry, the dog's barking. Yeah, I read that book when I was getting my license. I wasn't even licensed yet, and it just really helped me reframe coming into the real estate with the mindset of really creating systems and figuring it out and doing it completely different. So that's awesome. So how can our viewers check out what you're up to and connect with you if they'd like to?
To connect with us, either online or via email, feel free, amyflowersteam.com, or social media is the Amy Flowers Team, or you can find me personally. I'm on there too, both Facebook and Instagram. Look forward to chatting with anybody. I've actually done a few of these podcasts and had quite a few people reach out and ask questions. So I'm always happy to answer any questions you have.
Awesome. So we'll put that in the show notes so people can check that out. So Amy, thank you for being on the show. I really appreciate you sharing your insight and your wisdom. You've got a long career and got a lot of good experience in adapting over the years. So it's exciting to see that you've kept growing and to see the success that you've had. And I know our viewers are really going to appreciate that. So thanks for being on, and talk to you soon.
Thank you so much, Ryan, for having me. It was an honor to be asked to talk to you about farming. And if there's ever anything anybody has questions about, feel free to give me a shout. I'm happy to always talk to people.
Awesome. Thanks, Amy. Thanks for checking out today's episode. If you'd like more videos like this, be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out our Facebook page and our other social media channels. Looking forward to bringing you more great content like this, and happy farming.